China has closed its annual summit with the European Union by signing 3 agreements that further boost a comprehensive strategic partnership established between the two sides 10 years ago. Now, the deal also includes plans to launch negotiations on an investment deal that will pave the way for a new era in economic cooperation. CCTV reporter Zhang Nini has our top story.
Setting the agenda for the coming decade, Chinese and EU leaders have agreed to a specific roadmap for future cooperation, the China-EU Agenda 2020.
China and EU will issue a joint communique that includes a wide range of issues including space cooperation, anti-piracy and urbanization. The next step is to flesh out the proposals and make sure they're well implemented. China and the EU have also officially launched negotiations over an investment agreement and will actively explore the possibility of a free trade agreement. We have also set the goal of reaching $1 trillion in bilateral trade by 2020.
Investment protection and market access were focus points of the deal, as both sides agreed to clear away barriers and boost two-way investment. Another key part calls for more effective protection and enforcement of intellectual property rights from both China and the EU. European Council President Herman van Rompuy also highlighted green growth as central to the strategic partnership.
We have therefore agreed that green growth should become a key area of strategic and practical bilateral cooperation, and we have also launched, at the site of the summit, a new high-level dialogue on innovation cooperation.
Meanwhile, European Commission President José Barroso applauded both sides for setting concrete plans to achieve their long-term visions.
This is both a strategic document and at the same time a very concrete one, with a number of initiatives and engagements that we have undertaken to do. Our relations not only have a great history, now they also have a promising future.
China and EU also issued a joint declaration on energy security as well as a letter of intent on food, agriculture and biotechnology. And they committed to continue cooperation in other global issues such as climate change, G20 talks and regional security. Decisions were also taken to promote cultural and educational exchanges. The summits also include side events on urbanization and entrepreneurship. With the summits, China and EU leaders hope to inject new confidence and momentum to their strategic partnership. The agreement signed today is expected to give a substantive boost to the bilateral relations in the coming decade. Zhang Nini, CCTV, Beijing.
Well, Zhang Nini now joins us in the studio for more on the just concluded China-EU summit. Well, Nini, the economic relationship between China and the EU seems to be characterized by both promises and problems. So can you give us a big picture view of the situation right now?
Well, hello, Mang. There are currently imbalances in China's bilateral trade and investment with the EU, particularly in terms of investment flows. EU companies invested just under 10 billion euros in China in 2012. By contrast, the Chinese FDI into the EU over the same period amounted to only 3.5 billion euros. Meanwhile, only 2% of all European investments abroad in 2012 were directed toward China, and Chinese investments only accounted for 2.2% of total FDI flows into the EU. Therefore, a bilateral investment agreement that provides transparency, legal certainty, and fair market access could open up enormous opportunities for investors from both sides. And already have a solid base. Since 2004, the EU has been China's largest trading partner and biggest export market, where China is EU's second largest trading partner after the United States. The total trade volume between China and the EU last year exceeded 433 billion euros, and there's still room to grow. In particular, the service industry accounts for only around 1/10 of the total trade, totaling less than 50 billion euros. Strengthening trade relations has long been considered a good way to build a solid strategic partnership, but there are also risks. Bilateral trade can often become marred by tensions. Major disputes have already erupted in the solar panel industry. In September last year, the European Commission launched anti-dumping and anti-subsidy investigations against the solar panel imports from China, with Chinese companies potentially facing up to 47.6% in punitive taxes. In May, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang expressed great concern over the issue during his trip to Germany. On August the 3rd, after 6 weeks of intense negotiations, the European Commission finally reached a deal with Chinese solar panel exporters, and participating players were exempted from provisional anti-dumping duties. While the two sides managed to avoid the solar panel disputes from spiraling into a broader trade war, there are no guarantee that future wars will be resolved so amicably. Mama.